Well, welcome to another episode of Port Charles Chat. I'm Mom.
And I'm Brendan.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
All right. And we are talking about the week of August 4th through August 8th. And just so everyone to know, the day of taping is on August the 10th of 2025. All right, Brandon, are you ready to get started?
I think I am. I think we're excited to finally speak of a week on the week.
Yes, we are. We have finally caught up. We have seen 5 episodes in a day. So we have finally caught up. So anyway, so today what I'm going to do is talk about some of the characters, and we're kind of give some input about some of the things that's going on with them now. Let's talk first about Willow. First of all, I can't tell if right now what she's doing is strategy or what's going on with her. But Willow, as we know, does not have custody of her children, and she has reached out to Michael a couple times. She kind of had a little fit, mini fit, in regards to Michael. Michael has kind of figured out that he thinks that she is the one who has who was kind of with Daisy and kind of turning her around, changing her clothes, and that type of thing. And so Willow at this point is kind of reaching out as best as she can to anyone who she can who might possibly give her a little bit of sympathy. And so this time she has actually reached out to Chase. She saw Chase at the hospital. She had just nice words with him. And then she asked about the kids, and he gave some, just a little bit of information about the kids. He said it with a smile. And then she's kind of trying to figure out how she could see the kids. Um, and then we also find out in another note that Sonny actually has empathy for her. On another day, he makes a comment to the ADA that he does feel, he says that he feels empathetic toward her because she is not able to see her kids. So, my overall question to you, Brandon, is do you think this is strategy on Willow's behalf? We know she does miss her children. However, do you think she's doing everything she can to try to maneuver a way in to find a way to see her kids and trying to get some help from someone else? Your thoughts?
I feel that I mean, sure, there might be some strategy in there, but I don't think she's coherent enough in her thoughts to really have a strategy at this point. I think it's just more so that she knows she wants to see her children, and so she's partly trying to do the strategy, but also very impulsive and just wants to see them now because she'll say one thing to Elizabeth, smart and thought out, and then immediately try to go back to Michael.
Yeah. And then also, I noticed that Chase is now trying to appeal to Michael so that he will actually allow her to see the kids. And Michael immediately said no. He said he kind of wanted to go through the courts, and it says that she is not ready to see the children yet. And so, if it is strategy, the part about using Chase is working because Willow and Chase were once involved at some point. It'll be interesting to see how this kind of turns out. Of course, we all know who pulled the strings for this, meaning that is Sidwell in regards to and how the court case kind of revolved itself. And so it'll be interesting to see how this kind of works out a little later. All right. Anything else you'd like to add about Willow?
For Willow, not necessarily, other than that Rick wants to help. Of course, we know why because of Nina, but he doesn't seem able to help because she doesn't really know what to do.
Yeah, and he has given some directives to Willow, and I thought they were fair directives. He kind of has said we need to work this out through the court, and that means in this case that you need to kind of pull yourself together and not see the children until the courts have said you can. All right, so let's move on to Britt. Um, Britt is a character I really like. At first when she came on years ago, I didn't like her, and then throughout the years, I started liking her as a character. But right now, it looks like she's being held captive in. They have mentioned wherever she is, and it looks like she's working on research. She seems to know who her boss is, and she asked to speak to the boss. We don't know if that's a male or female yet, but she seems to know her boss, and she has spoken to her boss. What I like about this storyline is that it's actually bringing a variety of characters together, and it's a variety of characters who don't always go together per se. So, for example, this is bringing together Anna and Brennan, Jason, Jocelyn, and Vaughn. And then, oddly enough, Carly will be, I think, brought in a little later. And then, of course, we have Dalton, who's kind of fitting out there somewhere. We're not quite sure how he blends in yet. And so I like that the storyline is bringing in, a variety of people together. Um, I like the way that Britt is kind of self contained right now. So, as a way to kind of bring her back slowly and to kind of give her a backstory. Like I mentioned before, I hope this is a good backstory. Um, and it'll also be interesting to see if her mother actually knows what's going on with her. And so she has mentioned her mother, but um, not in the sense of saying speaking to her mother on a regular basis, but she has just mentioned her mother. But what's also interesting is that Britt is actually looking at pictures of different people in Port Charles and see what's going on as she's making comments about them. All right, Brandon, what are your thoughts about Britt?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I mean, again, I didn't really know much about Bert prior to her coming back, other than her death. I do remember that, but other than that, I've liked being able to see her like in these various segments. It very much. I think I mentioned in the previous discussion. It reminds me of how they were trying to integrate Lucky this time last year. Um, I do. I like that it's all it's all sort of segmented out. I just hope that the execution continues to follow through, and she is being sort of held against her will, so to speak, but in a luxury resort, it seems.
Yeah, it seems like in a luxury resort. And then we also know that she's giving herself shots, so it makes you wonder about the disease that she does have, if she's treating that, or is there something else that she's treating herself for?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the Huntington's disease is my guess, and at least I'm glad that they're consistent, with this, and it's not just that uh, they're downplaying it, but instead potentially strategizing. That's my thought.
Yeah. All right. Next one we're moving on to is Drew. Drew's just all over the place. That's the best as I can explain Drew right now. Basically, with Curtis, he has apologized and has attempted to call a truce with Curtis. Of course, it's all play on Drew's behalf, but the fact that he has done that is interesting. And then and then Martin, on the other hand, has actually unknowingly let Drew know that Stella has helped him with his insurance. And so, Drew has decided now that he wants to actually use what he knows. I don't know if this is against Martin or against Stella, but he is using what he knows against someone. And he is calling in regards to insurance fraud. And so that'll be interesting to see how that kind of works out next week. And then at the same time, he says he's still trying to help Willow. So Drew's all over the place. We don't know what he's up to. We know that he is still obsessed with Willow. We know that he is trying to go after everyone who's hurt him. He's, like I said, all over the place. And then he says that he wants to take his daughter to DC to live, which is, of course, upset Alexis in the process. Brandon, what are your thoughts about Drew?
Yeah, I mean, Drew's always a perplexing character to think about. I can tell at the very least it seems like he wants to do the right thing by Willow, but also doesn't want to go with her. And so I don't fully know where this is going for him. Other than that, I don't think he's letting up on uh, his leverage on Curtis and family anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think he is. All right. And next we moved on to Rick. This is really short, but it looks like Rick has hired Martin to help him with Ava. And I guess this is Rick's way of getting out from underneath Ava because he's very aware that Ava is blackmailing Alexis. And so Martin is there to actually listen, although he did not give Martin all the details at all. He just gave him enough to know that he needed some help. What do you think about Rick trying to move away from Ava?
Well, first and foremost, I really like that he chose Martin as his lawyer of all people. Um, I mean, I thought that was hilarious. I mean, obviously, given the circumstances, I know he can't go to like Alexis or anything, but the fact that he went to Martin, I thought was just hilarious. But yeah, I'm curious about how that's gonna go with him trying to maneuver away from Ava, and we see Ava sort of doing the same thing with Rick. So, question is, who's going to catch on to who first?
Yeah, and will Christina get to them before any of them even go through all of that? But anyway, so that'll be interesting to watch. And then we have a storyline with Brooklyn. Brooklyn, of course, still wants to be close to Geo, but Geo is still not there yet. But on the front of Brooklyn and Chase, they talked about adoption earlier this week, and Brooklyn at this point in time is not ready to move forward with adoption. She still wants to figure out Geo a little bit before she does that. Um, and then there was a plot, of course, with deception also in regards to Sunny with Brooklyn and how they do not want to go to the police in regards to what Sunny has the way the money's kind of going through the company with Sunny. They don't want to go to the police. Brandon, your thoughts about Brooklyn, and do you think she should adopt at this point? And what do you think about her thoughts with Sunny?
Yeah, Brooklyn, adoption, and Sunny. There are so many thoughts about this. I'm actually more. I mean, I'm glad that we're getting more Brooklyn since she sort of disappeared for a little bit, so to speak, with her storyline. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we're showing her again. But I think we're actually taking a different route where we're actually focusing a bit more on Chase's side of things.
Yeah, I think we are, and which they should, because Brooklyn's side has actually already been presented at this point. So it really is Chase, and will they remain married at this point? I mean, it appears as though they will, but typically in soapland, once you start going down this avenue, that means that things start to happen in the marriage. So we'll see how that goes. And what do you think about Brooklyn and Sunny?
Brooklyn and Sunny. I mean, yeah, I know that they have a big heart to heart sort of moment, and that Brooklyn really wants to apologize to her uncle Sonny, but I don't know. I don't. I feel like this is going to come back to bite them in some way that they're covering up for Sonny, and that it was Tracy's idea of all people.
Yeah, well, Tracy doesn't want to go to jail either. So even though I don't think would have, but I guess just knowing what Sonny could do to them later, maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. All right. So then we move on to Lore. And I kind of got a kick out of this because Laura has to work as a mediator for Lulu, Dante, and Liesel. And I don't know why I was amused by this, but I really was kind of amused by this. Um, Liesel in itself, I like as a character. I think she's funny. She's quick witted. She she's very thorough about her responses that she gives, and some of it makes sense. And so I like that Laura is working as a mediator between all of them because in reality, we know that Rocco is reaching out to Liesel, regardless of whether or not Lulu or Dante want him to or not. He's reaching out, and so Liesel's trying to answer questions for him. And so I think them coming together and finding a time for all of them to meet so that they can hear each other's responses is actually a pretty good idea. What about your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm so glad that they are including or attempting to include Lisa within Rocco's life, but and with Laura, I mean, my bad, Mayor Collins as the mediator of the situation, but I, I kind of like how it completely went off the rails. That Lisa with Jason is able to understand everything and realize that I'm not really Rocco's grandmother, but I do believe I should have some sort of uh, connection with him, and then with everyone else, it's just like, no, I don't really care that much.
Yeah, yeah. So Liesel likes Jason, or at least it appears she does like Jason. Lulu and Dante, maybe not. But then Dante, I forgot that Liesel was actually the one who kind of programmed Dante, and so I thought it was interesting that Dante brought that up. And so, like I said, I completely forgot about that particular storyline. And then lastly, I kind of want to talk about Sidwell a little bit. And the one point that I want to make about Sidwell is that Sidwell has now told Marco that he has planted something against Sonny. And I believe that's the only person that knows at this point. And so, and this is in regards with the judge. And so I think it's interesting that Marco really didn't bat an eye when he heard this. He just kind of looked and, asked us to ask some questions, and that was that for them. Your thoughts about Sidwell and Marco?
Yeah, what I thought was interesting with all of that, we did see earlier that Marco wants to now go in it with Sonny. I don't know. We can presume that's probably the illegal side of Sidwell's business. We don't know for sure. But Jordan's picked up on it.
Hmm. Yeah, Jordan did pick up on it. Um, and so it'll be interesting to see if she does anything with that information at this time, because she said Jordan has made a point several times of saying that she is enjoying her job and that she look at the things she could buy now, and because they made a point about saying that she's gotten a new apartment or a townhouse or whatever she's doing. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how they kind of move that forward, and what will Jordan do with the information that she's able to pick up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Brandon. That is what I had. Oh, besides Portia and Curtis saying they're going to work things out. That is all I had for this week in regards to the main points. Brandon, were there any storylines that I missed or characters that we want to talk about?
Ooh, all right, let's go through my list here. Anybody of interest? I will say that Michael figured out the pieces of everything. I know we discussed that a little bit earlier, but I think it's important, to mention that Michael now has figured out that Willow situation.
Yeah, it is. Michael's figured it out. Nina's figured it out, and they're leading us to believe that Drew has figured it out also. They have not confirmed the Drew part. It was just kind of alluded to. But Nina has point blank said that she knows that Willow did it. So,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm definitely interested in seeing sort of where this is all going to lead up to.
Yeah, same here, same here. All right. Any others, Brandon?
For the most part, I think that's it. Other than Portia mentioned she's going to keep her job that she goes back and forth as to quitting or staying at.
Yes, yes. All righty. So let's go to the performer of the week. I struggled a little bit with this because to me, this is one of those hodgepodge weeks. And so I'm going to give my performer of the week to Anna because I had to reflect a little bit. And I was like, who stands out? And Anna stood out. And so I'm going to give it to her this week. All right, Brandon, what about you? Who is your performer of the week?
What's funny is I also picked Anna.
Oh, wow. I know we think a lot alike about some of these. And just so you know, we don't always talk about this before we come on to discuss this. And so sometimes we're surprised at each other. All right. So you picked Anna too. That's great. And well, I'm going to go along with my amusing scene because that kind of explains a little bit about why I chose Anna. For my amusing scene of the week, I chose Anna and the dog. Um, they made me I'm not the dog, but Anna made me laugh with this, with the relationship between she and the dog, and with Emma, and then the dog going along with Laura. I mean, it just made me laugh. And another reason why I kind of chose Anna this week also has to do with the WSB storyline that's going on. I like that she has figured everything out. I mean, no one else could figure this out. Although I think if you give Jason a time enough, he would have figured it out. But but I like that Anna was able to put all the pieces together. Dante has not told anyone that he knows also, but because he was there when she was explaining everything. But I like that Anna has just kind of gone with it, and even though she was kidnapped by quote unquote kidnapped by Brennan's people, um, I like that she saw through what Brennan was trying to tell her, and he just has point blank at this time just told her everything, or at least enough to keep her quiet. Um, and so, or at least, and to recognize the things that she's picked up on. And so that's one of the reasons that Anna was the performer of the week for me. Brand, were there any other reasons why Anna was performer of the week? And then I'll tell you about my other amusing scenes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely did it because one, I thought she was probably the most memorable single part of the week, and that overall, I kind of liked that she had numerous dynamics this week, from having the conversation with Weasel to being kidnapped, to having Outback the dog, to being outed by her landlord, to having that bickering with Brennan. A normal week for the police commissioner of Port Charles.
Yes, just a normal week. All right. As for other amusing scenes of the week, I like Laura's expressions this week. So it was just different parts of the week that she kind of made these amusing expressions, like with Anna, and then with listening to Liesel and listening to Lulu, and even listening to Jordan. I just kind of got a kick out of her. And then Martin and Stella, because they had a kind of cutesy conversation in regards to the insurance. And I kind of like that, just the lighthearted scene. All right, Brandon, did you have any other amusing scenes of the week?
Yeah, I mean, there were a few different, I think, quick-witted responses over the course of this week, throughout the week. And one of the ones that I kind of liked was one with the running gag with Cody, which probably is going on a little too long, but nevertheless, I found amusing that he still is extremely concerned about this mole on his back, which I'm pretty sure is just a freckle.
Yeah.
Um, and Martin and everybody this week for the most part. I mean, Martin and Stella was funny, especially when Martin was complaining about Tracy to Stella, and Stella's like, "I like Tracy," and he says, "Well, you know." And she says that Stella is an Olympian if she is with generosity, if she can be friends with Tracy Quartermain. So yeah, there were just a lot of great moments, I think, throughout this week. And Martin and Drew had a good one where Martin's saying all about his health, and he's like, "I'm sorry." It's like, "I know you didn't come here to hear about my health journey," and Drew's like, "Yeah, I didn't."
Yeah, yes. And then also Anna also had a scene with Emma. Well, it wasn't with necessarily with Emma, but it had to do with Emma and the fact that she called the I think the fire department in order to have the Dalton's office or Dalton's area, wherever Dalton is, that place kind of shut down. So I got a kick out of that too. Alrighty. As for touching scenes of the week, for me, it was Sunny and ADA and the ADA. I thought that was interesting, and it was really in regards to Willow, and so I kind of like that touching scene because that is Sunny just kind of expressing his thoughts about Willow, which differs from everyone else on the episode on the series. And then Jason and Alexis had a nice little scene this week also in regards to Scout, and so I like that. And then Portia and Curtis actually had a nice touching scene. All right, Brandon, what about you for touching scenes of the week?
Yeah, so there were a few different touching scenes throughout the week, but I really liked the one with Jason and Alex that you mentioned, but also with Jason and Liesel, and then Danny and Rocco.
Yeah, yeah. I really like Danny and Rocco scenes. I think they're doing a good job with both of them. As for fast forward, for me is Trina. I think she was only on one day, maybe this week, but I think I saw her. So anyway, she was the one I would fast forward this week. Or what about you, Brandon?
I don't even remember Trina being here this week.
Was she not here?
She could have been.
Yeah. So anyway, if she was here, I fast forwarded her. If she's not, I'm sorry. So anyway, as for welcome backs to Maxie. It was nice to see the true Maxie come back this week, and so it's always good to see Maxie come in. Braxton, Brandon, any other welcome backs this week?
I think it's just Maxie. Welcome
Uh,
back.
All right, and still missing are Olivia and Ned. I don't know where they are, but anyway, they're missing. And as for next week, I look forward to seeing more of the connections of the storyline with Britt. Hopefully, they will continue that because when we left off on Friday, we did see that Jocelyn had made it to wherever island she's at, and Britt there, and we know that Anna is looking to go there next. We think, and Jason, I'm sure, will follow suit. And so next week, I look forward to seeing Britt and whoever's involved with the storyline. And then Drew, just to see what he's up to and what he's going to do to Stella or Martin, whichever one he's going after. All right, Brandon, what are you looking forward to next week?
Well, first of all, in reference to your missing people, Olivia was off screen, so to speak, walking Outback the dog around the Metro Court throughout the week.
Uh huh, sure. Sure, sure, sure. And anyone, what else are you looking forward to for next week?
Yeah, I think that next week that Jocelyn and Jason both had the potential to be the performer of the week next week, or potentially Brit. Maybe a mixture of all the above. Just because of their sort of spy caper, I really hope that they don't uh, mess this up because I think this has the potential to be quite fun.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And one of the things that I mentioned to you, Brandon, was the person who Brit is speaking with. And one of the people I said, I hope it is not, is her father. And that would be Faison, because I didn't really like him when he was on. And I know you don't know who he is. I didn't like him when he was on years ago, and he is supposedly not living any longer on the show. And so I hope this is not a comeback for him. That is the one person I don't want this to be. I'm hoping they're really kind of creative and do something a little different with the storyline. Um, and so we'll be interested to see who her person is.
Yeah, it definitely will be interesting indeed. And Mom, I actually had another thing of something I don't want to see per se, and then another funny moment before we end out.
All right. What don't you want to see?
I don't really want to see Chase leaving Brooklyn and going back to Willow.
I don't want to see that either. We've done that. I don't need to see that again. Let me go back and say when Chase was with Willow years ago, it was fine, but now I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I don't want all of that because then I think that's going to be a whole thing, and then somehow I think Lulu would get involved with that in some way, shape, or form because that seems like something Lulu would do. Yeah, I don't need to see that.
Yeah. All right. And what's your funny?
Okay, so another funny moment that we had was Lisa and Anna were having a conversation about their past selves
Mhm.
and if they had any regrets. And Lisa said she'd tell her past self to not fall in love with any maniac Danish terrorist.
Yes. Yes. And that would be face on. So, yes, I understand that completely. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching today. And we look forward to speaking with you next week. Have a great day, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.